Yep. Yep. And good morning. And good morning. I think YouTube is suppressing my numbers because I'm looking at how many people is watching my channel right now. And it doesn't really reflect that in my analytics, right? I can see what's going on. But I don't know. Something's off. Anyway, happy Monday to everybody. Uncle Andy's in the building. Good morning, man. Good morning. I'm here. I could have chosen another topic because I kind of know, I think I know what YouTube likes to hear and what they don't like to hear. But this morning, I purposely wanted to talk about Burkina Faso and what's going on out there. I seen this story a couple of days ago. And I was like, you know what? I want to get around to it when I can. This is Burkina Faso severs diplomatic ties with France, right? Burkina Faso military junta has broken off diplomatic ties with France. First of all, let's get Gemini popping. I think I want to know the former name of Burkina Faso. I know it. I think I'm wrong. What is the former name of Burkina Faso? It says Burkina Faso was formerly known as Upper Volta. No, that's not it. That's not what I'm thinking about. That's not the name I am thinking about. Did it have another name? Masi. There we go. And Wogodo. Yes. The kingdom. Yes. The Wogodogo. These are the names that I was thinking about. So it says, before it was formally established as Upper Volta, the territory had a few other administrative names during the French colonial era and ancient associated with local kingdoms. Here are the historical names associated with the country that you might be thinking of. Let's do it this way. What was the area now known as Burkina Faso, known as in 1492? Yep. Okay. Now we're going somewhere. Back in 1492, the region that is now Burkina Faso did not exist as a single unified country, nor did it have a modern bureaucratic name. Instead, the area was dominated and known by its powerful indigenous states, primarily the Masi Kingdom. See, we have to understand the history of these places because there's history there. I would hate to have this conversation and not educate somebody because there's clearly uneducated black people running around spewing ignorance, but it sounds intelligent. That's the most hurtful thing, right? They dress up in all type of associated regalia whether they're part of the Moorish community, whether they're part of this community, that community, and they, internet makes it, they could put out 60-second clips of information chopped up, and it makes it seem like these people know what they're talking about. And these are the same people that don't really want to get into the true education, the true history of these places, and what these people were fighting for. The Masi kingdoms, the Masi Empire, by 1492, the Masi people had established a highly organized confederation of independent states across the central and northern plateau of the region. The most prominent among these were the kingdom of the Wagadogo, whose ruler, Magonaba, was considered the supreme emperor. Other major Masi kingdoms at the time included Tenko Dogo and Yatenga, located in the eastern part of present-day Burkina Faso. This was a major centralized state established around the same era. Why 1492 is a key historical marker for the region. While 1492 is famously remembered in the West for Columbus' voyage and West Africa history, this is the exact window was a period of intense geopolitical conflict. The fiercely independent Masi kingdoms were famous for resisting conquest by the neighboring Islamic Songhai Empire to the north. In fact, just a few years later, in 1497, the Songhai Empire Emperor Askia Muhammad I declared a holy war against the Masi states. I want to talk about this before we get busy. I'm just going to freestyle. Let me just see who's in the building. We got 23 people in the building. Yeah, you know what, Uncle Andy? We're just going to deal with it today. If I want, I could have made the algorithm go up. I could have had 100 people in here. But today, I think I feel like teaching today. You understand? And you can't. I can't teach with 150 people in here. 100 of them are trolls. Like I don't want to do that. It's like pearls going to swine. You understand? I'd rather 10 people in here that's going to listen. To be honest with you, give me 7 people that really want to understand the knowledge. The one thing we barely do in America is teach true history in it in the first place, right? And they're not going to teach anything about West African history in high school, middle school. Like you'd be lucky if you walk away with good American history. You'd be lucky, especially now. They don't even want to teach the kids that America had slaves, so it's about to get crazy because it's gonna hurt somebody's feelings. Literally, I'm not even being sarcastic. They decided not to teach it because it makes certain kids self-conscious about what their ancestors did. That's kind of crazy. That's what we're doing now. We're not going to talk the truth because it's going to make someone feel uncomfortable. All right, if you say so. I did a whole presentation on 1492. I'm not going to do it this morning. Everybody knows 1492. Columbus was running around doing something. But they don't know the other things that was happening in 1492. They mentioned the Songhai Empire here. Who was Askia Muhammad's predecessor? I'm probably spelling that wrong, but she'll figure out what I'm talking about. Sunni Ali. Sunni Ali was Askia Muhammad's predecessor. Sunni Ali was the emperor of the Songhai Empire before Askia Muhammad. Why is that important? They called Sunni Ali the sorcerer emperor, right? Why did they call him that? Because even though he practiced Islam, he only embraced Islam because it became a thing where, because they had done so much business with Muslims, trading salt and gold, it became a wise diplomatic strategy just to become Muslim, because you would have more political gain and status, right? However, culturally, many people stay tied to their own roots, and him as an emperor over the Songhai Empire, he kept his West African culture very close, and he would still practice, what they would say, magic and all this other stuff. Oh, Santiago's in the building. Salute, Santiago. So, at the time, Askia Muhammad was his commander when he was alive. He was his commander. Sunni Ali, I felt like it was something personal that he salvaged West African culture and not let the Arabian, Islamic, Muslim culture take everything that they had. They were already taking the people as slaves, right? They were already encroaching in for centuries, going further and further into Africa. This is way before the white man. The white man came and took advantage of something that was already taking place. But look where the white man focused on when he came into Africa. If you look where he focused on, it was already an exploited area that other races or other nations had already been trying to grab the last strongholds of West Africa. This is why it pisses me off when black Americans are running around talking about they don't know what they are, right? We was already here. No, you weren't. Shut up. You started blending in with the Native Americans years later. The Native Americans started to accept you into the tribes. And why do you think they did that? Clearly, they seen we got more of an affinity with you than we do with the pale face, because he's over here causing trouble and spreading disease. Here, come into our tribe. We'll take you in. But you're no different than the white man. Here you are, they let you in. You don't even give the respect centuries later to say, nah, how it started was we was over there, we ran away. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. There was some marooned Africans here in the States, but not enough to say we was already here. Y'all turn the conversation into something else. If you're going to educate. There was some marooned Africans here. Would you say that you were the majority of the population here? Nowhere near that. Nowhere near that. I can't even give you 1%. You didn't have that many people here. There's a natural current that runs from West Africa to the Americas, and it will bring you back. to West Africa. So yes, you guys, there was West Africans coming over to the Americas, and they was getting marooned here. But nothing boils my skin like black African Americans getting up here on the internet or anywhere spewing absolute fucking nonsense in an educated fashion. Oh, you guys fucking get on my nerves. I can't lie, because here's the thing. The thing that pisses me off is, give me a lie or give me the truth, but don't give me a lie mixed with the truth, meaning you're withholding certain information so that it sounds a certain way, and you know you're fucking lying. Now you're going to teach somebody else, and he or she is going to get out here strongly, arrogantly wrong. Strongly, arrogantly wrong. We're not talking about the Jews right now. We're talking about West Africans. Let the Jews live for today, please. Ashkenazi and Sephardic. Please let the Jews live today. This is about West Africans and black people. Everybody has their day that I come for them. Today is about West Africans and black people. So, because the Bible says my people perish for lack of knowledge. It hurt my heart to have to do the true education of how some of these sub-religions started in America, right? Nation of Islam. I love Farrakhan and his wife Khadijah, who just passed. But if I have a job to do, I have a job to do. And nobody could stand in front of the truth on how things started. So I had to educate people on how the FOI really spawned out of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We're not disputing that. Anybody that want to dispute that, you're gonna lose. So let's not even do it. Let's not even go there. Let's just move on. Now, when we get to the Moorish Science Temple of America, we just go straight to the founder. Who the founder was? Noble Drew Ali. Boom. I believe everyone involved had good intentions. But to educate people with a false history just so that you can have some leverage to be tied to some type of political loophole that might give people some type of diplomatic status and sovereign status is selfish, to be honest with you, because you're going to die and leave millions of people clueless that everything you were saying was fucking horseradish. So when I look at, never mind what you look at, when I looked at what Noble Drew Ali was basing his belief on, the Bible, the Quran that he created, and then looked inside and seen that he had plagiarized this from another book from the Aquarian Jesus. I said, oh no, this is crazy. And it wasn't like a plagiarizing a page or like a paragraph. When I was in college, I couldn't get through. Sometimes you try to plagiarize a paragraph or so. You didn't want to do too much. Maybe a few sentences, and he may not notice. Your professor may not notice. No, your man was out here plagiarizing pages out of another book. So it was very easy to find out, okay, this Noble Drew Ali guy, he first of all took pages out of another book to create his book. That's definitely plagiarism, but worse than that, it's like, can you have an original idea if you're going to lead these people and or let the people know where you're getting it from? But he didn't do that. And the reason this pisses me off is because now all of these people over here truly think, yo, we was already here. This is our land. Listen, that sounds great. And I really wish that this was your land. But it's disrespectful to the West Africans that was fucking killed. Riddle me this while we on the topic. We're going to get into that in a second. Riddle me this. If damn near the entire north continent of Africa was considered Moors, then why is it that they did not call the West African Moors? Why didn't they call them Moors when they put them on the slave ships and started sailing them to the Caribbean islands and the Americas? Why didn't they call them Moors? Why did they call them Negroes? Yeah. It's not rhetorical, but I'm not going to wait for your answer because I know the answer. It was about the laws of that time. Now, let me explain this to you, and don't argue with me because I'm right and I have the information ready on the slide to shoot you down. But I'm not going to do that because this is not what this show is supposed to be about. But at that time, the Christians had certain edicts and laws that said Christians are not going to enslave other Christians. So that wiped them out from being enslaved, right? Muslims had practice in law that they weren't going to enslave other Muslims. I'm helping you understand something this morning. So many of the West Africans and the Sub-Saharan Africans, many of the Sub-Saharan Africans, all the way from Ethiopia to the West, started to embrace Islam out of safety reasons, for safety reasons as well. It was a diplomatic thing. However, there were certain areas, certain strongholds that said, no, we're not embracing none of it. We're going to stay true to who we are. The Masi states, centuries later, we would know this area as Burkina Faso. But before Morocco invaded the Sangha Empire, because they had guns, that's what really solidified their victory. At that time, it's just about timing. Because I think if it was still arrows and spears, they would have took an L, hands down. Hands down, they would have took an L. But that's not the case. So you had some West African nations out there that was holding. It's like watching The Last Samurai, when the white men come into Japan with the guns, and then you have all the samurais that they're going to war with the blades. This is how it was. It went out bad. Ronin 47. It was not even close. You can't fight cannons and bullets with spears and arrows. You can, but you will be destroyed. Now, going back to Sunni Ali, because he's very important. And he's very important because he died in 1492. A couple of things happened in 1492 besides Columbus sailing. The only reason Columbus was able to sail is because of two things. Muhammad the 12th was exiled from the last stronghold in Spain, Granada. It was over. He was the last standing Spanish Moor. Spanish-Arabian Moor. They kicked him out. He went to Morocco. The second thing was the last person with the last powerful person. He had a lot of power. And that area right there, what are you guys talking about in the chat? This is the same person that would lose his mind if you called him the N-word. Absolutely pathetic. Chris, I'm not bothering you. And I would appreciate it if you just leave the show. This is a show for intellectuals. And you probably there's other YouTube channels, man. Why would you stay here knowing that you're not on the same frequency? That makes no sense. Steve Dubs, what's good with you, player? Good morning, brother. All right. So, getting back to Sunni Ali, I want to explain something. He had an exceptional pride in his West African heritage and his culture. And his commander, who was a stoic, almost zealot Muslim, did not like the fact that he held on to. He was orthodox. Askia Muhammad was Sunni Ali's commander, but Askia Muhammad was orthodox Muslim. Strong. He did not like the fact that his emperor seemed like kind of weak when it came to Islam. He's still dibbling and dabbling into the motherland practices and practicing magic. So they call them the sorcerer emperor. Sorcerer king is what they call them. Sorcerer king. When he died, originally when Sunni Ali died, his son took over. But then immediately Askia Muhammad challenged him, just like in the movies, and his son lost. So therefore, Askia Muhammad took over the Songhai Empire. You already know what was going to happen because this guy is a zealot. So he enforced strict Muslim law, Islamic law. And he started to put pressure on the surrounding areas to become Muslim. Now, it says, while 1492 is famously remembered in the West for Columbus' voyage into West African history, this exact window was a period of intense geopolitical conflict. The fiercely independent Masi kingdoms were famous for resisting conquest by the neighboring Islamic Songhai Empire to the north. They're talking about under Askia Muhammad. In fact, just a few years later, in 1497, the Sangha Emperor Askia Muhammad I declared a holy war against the Masi states. Yes, the Masi successfully defended their territory and retained their sovereignty. So I gave you that history just so you know when we get into the story about Burkina Faso, because these are the descendants of the Masi Empire. They've been fighting for their freedom for a very long time. They're not new to this. Now, this is Mr. Ibrahim Traore. Ibrahim Traore. Captain Ibrahim Traore has been ruling Burkina Faso since seizing power in 2022. Burkina Faso's military junta has broken off diplomatic ties with France, accusing Paris of persistently acting against its national interests. I believe it. Relations between Burkina Faso and its former colonial ruler worsened after Captain Ibrahim Traore seized power in a coup in 2022 and pursued largely anti-Western policies. In a televised statement on Friday, Communications Minister Pingwindi Gilbert, I can't say all of those names, that's outrageous, Gilbert Ouedraogo said France was guilty of ceaseless activism against his country and accused it of colonial ambitions. I believe you. I believe you. I believe you. Europeans, when you say Europeans in your head, you don't think of black Europeans. You think of Caucasians. That spirit of Europe taking over the world, which today we call white supremacy, is not going to die. It is hilariously arrogant how they just feel like they're going to own the world. Spain and Portugal had divided up the world. The world. As if nobody else lived on the planet. Hold on. Tell me about how Spain and Portugal had divided up the world. In 1494, Spain and Portugal effectively divided the non-Christian world between themselves by signing the Treaty of Tordesillas. To prevent an all-out war over newly discovered lands, the two global superpowers established an imaginary meridian line of demarcation. This line ran north to south, roughly 370 leagues west of the Cape Verde Islands off the west coast of Africa. Everything to the west of the line belonged to Spain, giving them claim to most of the Americas. Everything to the east of the line belonged to Portugal, giving them claim to Africa, India, and the easternmost tip of South America, which is why Brazil speaks Portuguese today. The audacity and the rambunctiousness. To have a meeting and divide up the world as if you was that powerful to take over the world, Greg. Many emperors have tried, meaning kings, emperors, whatever the title you want to give them. But it only goes, in my experience of just studying, no matter how much land they get, what happens is you lose power the further that power extenuates out. The further that land extenuates out, you lose power. Right? Because you need governors at this point. You need administrators to keep there and pledge their allegiance to you. But people are people. So you know what ends up happening, right? They start to feel themselves. And then next thing you know, they're not really feeling you telling them what to do anymore. You're like, yo, bro, I put you in power. You're supposed to be here for me. Yeah, so speaking of that, I was thinking, like, who are you? Whoa. So your generals stop kind of listening. And the first time there's any situation with that king's health, it's a wrap. And this is kind of what we've seen with the Greeks. And we've seen the same thing with Rome. As soon as Alexander the Great died, his generals was doing numb. They was like, yeah, well, I'm not giving back this land. Like, this is mine. If you want to take it in blood. White man's arrogance is crazy on this planet. And the longer the story goes on, it makes it seem like, well, this is your world, squirrel, and all you other people are just living in it. No, this is everyone's place. If you want to really... Nah, it's too early for reptilian talk. But let me tell you this. I think they mentioned that reptile in the Bible for a reason, right? And where does that reptile come from, right? All of a sudden, Adam and Eve are talking, really Eve. I don't know why she's out there talking to strange individuals. But Eve, instead of hanging out with Adam, she's off talking a little bit too much to company, strangers, if you ask me. And this is reptilian. But the way the story is told, no one ever asks why. And there's no other mention of any other animals talking at this time. Especially not giving out wisdom and advice. He's out there telling you, nah, eat the tree. Eat the fruit. Surely you should not die. Surely. And she's listening. Would she have listened to the lion if the lion was like, no, you can eat the fruit. It's okay. We all do it. So, but that's a whole different history, right? There's a strong, long history of the reptile. And a lot of cultures believe there are such things called snake people. They call them the Nagas. Snake people. But this is not a show about that. All I want to say is, at some point you do have to accept that there's a galactic history that you're not being told about. Now, when you first hear that, you're like, galactic history, what are you talking about? That's pseudo. Everything is pseudo until you're told about it. There's a couple of problems I have with science, right? They want to they want to base everything on concrete, tangible evidence, right? You being able to pick up a skull, but if I can't find the skull, or to pick up a skull, right, to study it, then they use the strongest words in the world to debase any type of other theory. And the strongest word is pseudo. Oh, who gave the science community this word? Jesus Christ. Everything is pseudo. Pseudo is a pseudo. It's pseudoscience. It's pseudo. Oh, God. So, yes, having the tangible evidence is a great thing. But to base everything entirely on what you can actually see in front of you, did they feel it? Did they touch it? This one touched it. Okay, he said this, that, and the third. We could take his word for it. Boom. There were certain cultures that wasn't, they didn't write things down. Their entire culture is, we spread our history via stories. Now, obviously, this can have a weak point too. But my point is this. Does the science community not take that into consideration? Well, they're not. That's a rhetorical. They're not, because of things like the telephone game, right? There's just a lot of room for error there. But there's a lot of room and error in coming up with a new theory, and then, for instance, let's just take Carl Linnaeus and Johann Blumenbach, right? These guys are out here creating new classifications of people based off of skulls. Based off of people's skulls. And everybody went with it. Everybody went, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Did it make perfect? Like, looking back in 2026 compared to when they were basing everybody, classifying people on skulls, was that the best strategy? Or in 2026, would you be like, actually, that's so elementary that it's just not worth ever having been done. Like, we should have never did that. Because the tools we have access to now, we would never even, that wouldn't even be 10 on the list to start classifying people. And my point is, it already made such an ginormous impact on society, though. So a lot of times you can have an intellectual who is rambunctious, and us as humans, this is why I say we're still a primitive being. Us as humans, we run off on these theories. And the sad part is, I really do respect science. I don't respect the science community, because there's humans in the science community and oversee the science community. I don't trust humans. Humans have a price, meaning anybody from the elite can hold a dinner or brunch and persuade the top people in the science community to alter their narrative to fit the elite person's interests. That's my problem. Relations between Burkina Faso and its former colonial ruler worsened after Captain Ibrahim Traoré seized power in the coup in 2022 and pursued largely anti-Western policies. In a televised statement on Friday, Communications Minister, I can't even say that name. Let's move on. The French Foreign Minister called the decision hostile. The French Foreign Minister, here we go. The French Foreign Minister called the decision hostile and unfounded and said it illustrated the troubling drift by the Burkina Faso government. France also urged nationals in the country to exercise heightened vigilance. Who are you, France? France, you're just upset that you can no longer take advantage of a country that you should have never had control over in the first place. And now your time is up. Why you can't accept that? Your rule has come to an end. I would say it's nothing personal, but it is all bit of personal. Burkina Faso, like its neighbor Mali, has been battling an Islamist insurgency for over a decade, often alongside French forces deployed in the region. So let's talk about that, because I do want to bring up the €2 million bounty on the Mali president. And this is one of the reasons why. This is not why I don't have religion. I don't have religion because the amount of studying that I did when I realized I just did a lot of studying that told me these religions are not standing on solid ground at all. But that's me personally. I'm not here to convince anyone to drop their religion. However, I find it sickening that even these religious zealots can be paid a certain amount of money and then they're going to go do whoever is paying them. They're going to go do the task that whoever's giving them the money, they're going to go do it under the name of that religion. And it's sad. It is sad. And unfortunately, Muslims, Islam, you're up there with the top three. I mean, there's only the top three anyway, right? It's either going to be Muslim, Jewish, or Christian. And coincidentally, all of you guys are the problems of the world today, outside of the bankers. The bankers are the biggest problem. But the bankers would be considered Geppetto. They like to sit in the back and act. They don't act as if anything. They just sit in the back and they fund things. They're all about money. They're automatons when it comes to money and control. The sad part is you have practicing religious people who put their heart and soul into their religion. So you have Muslims who are devout Muslims that listen to the book, and they would never do the things that some of these extremists do. You have Jewish people who really practice Judaism, like with heart and soul. And the same thing as Christians. They really believe. And this is what I was saying before about a lie being mixed with the truth. Even give me a lie or the truth, but don't give me a lie mixed with the truth or a truth mixed with a lie. And unfortunately for these people, these devout religious people, the world doesn't care that you are devout and true to your religion. Because the newspaper articles are not going to hear your voice. They're going to hear about the extremist who's out here killing on behalf of whatever it believes in. But that money has to come from somewhere. That money has to come from somewhere. Right? Like the money had to come from somewhere for Al Qaeda. The money has to come somewhere was ISIS. And when they did the knowledge to when they followed the money, some of these places, they found out the United States funded many of these extremist groups that they later on told ignorant Americans, right? And I don't say ignorant in a disrespectful way. I mean it in its epitome of you not knowing. Like if you have to work 40 to 60 hours a week and take care of responsibilities, and you have 2 days off, and you're not spending those 2 days on world politics, right? And conspiracy theories, trying to see if these are true or not. You just want to crack open a Budweiser, enjoy your little time off, do what you're doing, then get back to work. So when I say you don't know, the only way you would find out is what? The media. However, if the media has been hijacked via operations like Operation Murdoch, not Murdoch, Mockingbird, sorry, Operation Mockingbird, where the media stations are hijacked, and they're still hijacked today. You see a lot of technocrats buying up media outlets and food processing plants, things that don't make sense, and it kind of raises a red flag, and you're like, why are they doing that? You know the answer. You know the answer. You don't want to hear the answer, but you know the answer. And this is what we call organized chaos. Because there's a ton of money to make, whether someone is winning a war or losing a war. There's a ton of money to make. It's going to affect something. And I don't think the people who are funding these things actually care. So Burkina Faso and Mali have been battling against all of a sudden Islamic insurgencies with the help of freaking French forces. Sad. Soon after he took power, Captain Traoré expelled French troops. Good for you. His government has accused France of having a secret agenda and pivoted towards China and Russia. There you go. The latest Burkina Faso statement says conditions for mutual respect no longer exist between the two countries. Why should it? The French are arrogant, and they've colonized enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. I would truly want to see a couple of things. Either the black people of Africa kick out the white people who are only there to drain all its resources and cause confusion, or Africa, you invade Europe. Fuck it. Turn up on these suckers. Sometimes you gotta go on offense to make people pipe down. Reconsider everything. Trump was reconsidering everything, but I don't know. I think he starts to reconsider, but then they show him a photo of what they're gonna do, and then he's back on the stupidity trail. The latest Burkina Faso statement says conditions for mutual respect no longer exist between the two countries. It alleges French support for subversive networks and an intent to marginalize Burkina Faso on the international stage. The statement adds that the decision to sever ties concerns exclusively the institutional framework of relations, but in no way calls into question the historical, human, cultural, and social ties that unite the Burkina Faso and French peoples. Winter is here. Where you been, Winter? Was you here yesterday, Winter? When was I on? Wait, I think I was here yesterday. Were you here? You was here yesterday, Winter? The junta pledged to restore democracy in 2024, but reneged on this promise and formally dissolved political parties in January this year. In January 2025, Burkina Faso, along with two neighboring military-led states, Mali and Niger, officially broke away from the regional West African bloc, ECOWAS, to form a new group, the Alliance of the Sahel States. Let's go. Let's go. You see, they have to educate even the West African. I have West African friends that I speak to maybe once or twice a month. I speak to my West African friends, and usually on these conversations that I'm having, we're talking about the history. We're talking about the status of the world, right? What's going on in the world. And they were actually intrigued that I was telling them their history. They had not even known their history. Most of you know that I have done my genetic test, right? My DNA test. And when you do your DNA test, it actually shows you where the majority of your ancestry origins come from. And over 80% of mine leads back to West Africa. There's different countries there that are named, the Congo, Senegal, what else? Nigeria, right? But over 80% is just right there in the pocket of West Africa. So yes, my West African friends, they practice Islam, but I wanted to ask them, why do you practice Islam? Because your father practiced Islam, but why did he practice Islam? Islam is not an African religion, so why does your people practice Islam? So to do the history, to study the history of the spread of Islam, it's like a movie. It's beautiful. Every scene is not beautiful because there were many that were killed, but it is beautiful to see the history unfold as you are researching and you're starting to understand, oh, wow, this is what happened. This emperor here sold these people out and started to do business with the Arabs, letting them in the country for trinkets. Yeah, we've been had sellouts. So, shout out to Burkina Faso, because you come from a long line of warriors. You just didn't start fighting in 2024. You've been fighting for hundreds of years. To maintain your true culture. And that's impressive. these Europeans only came in after the white Arabs was already doing this to you. So they felt like, oh, they being taken advantage of anyway. Let's take them. So it was the last strongholds that did not convert to either Christian, and they did not convert to Muslim. They say, well, we taking you. So they didn't call us Moors because we enslaving you because you are not Muslim. However, we have to address you as something. And being that you're black, you are Negro. In January 2025, Burkina Faso, along with two neighboring military... Well, I read that. Okay. Well, that's that story there. I know there was several attempts on his life. I really hope. I don't know how long he can stay alive. I hope he gets the backing of... I think Putin has given him his blessing. Hopefully he gets the blessing of China. Gets some strong military behind him. And kick these Europeans the fuck up out of their country. Out of Africa, period. I'm not even going to get to what's happening in South Africa right now. I will. We will talk about it. But slowly. Burkina Faso severs diplomatic ties with France. Nope. All right. Good morning. Apparently she's stuck this morning. Good morning. Are you there? Hello? Oh, what's going on? My OBS froze?
Good morning. How can I help you today?
What is this article talking about? Please break this article down for me.
Good morning. I'm here and sorry to hear your OBS froze. Regarding the article, it's about Mali's Al-Qaeda branch, Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin, JNIM, which has offered a significant bounty for the president's and top military officials' capture. They describe the government as illegitimate. This comes after a similar offer by the government for information on JNIM leaders.
All right, let's just drill down into that. Who's the president of Mali? Something went wrong. I don't know what's going on with the internet right now. Alright, the internet is bugging out a little bit. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. It sounds like you're having some internet issues. Let me know if there's anything specific you need help with.
No, I'm definitely having some internet issues. Who's the president of Mali?
The current president of Mali is Assimi Goïta, who took power following coups in 2020 and 2021. The article you were viewing mentioned him, as well as Colonel Lassina Diallo and General Malik Diko, who were also named in the bounty offer.
All right, I'm just trying to understand. Let's just slow down because there's a lot of words I don't understand. There's names that look confusing. There's all type of acronyms going on. So, the president of Mali has a bounty on his head put on by who? Al Qaeda? Hello?
Hello again. I'm still here. Despite the internet troubles, is there anything specific you'd like to clarify from the article?
Yes. The president of Mali has a bounty put on his head by Al Qaeda?
That's right, based on the article. Specifically, it's by Mali's local Al-Qaeda branch called Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wa Muslimin, or JNIM. They are offering a €2 million bounty.
Why?
According to the article, JNIM, the local Al-Qaeda branch, describes the Malian government as an illegitimate entity, which might be part of their reasoning. The bounty also comes after a similar offer by the government for information on JNIM leaders.
All right. I'm going to ask you some questions and feel free to look for the information outside of this article. Who is funding JNIM?
JNIM funds itself through various sources. Reports indicate they obtain funds through kidnapping for ransom, extorting human and drug traffickers who transit through their areas, and taxing locals. Some sources also mention their involvement in artisanal mining.
Does Mali have any allies like Burkina Faso has allies such as Russia and China? Has Mali reached out to Russia and China?
Yes, Mali has definitely realigned its partnerships. Following coups in 2020 and 2021, Mali shifted away from Western partners, including France, and has pursued closer ties with Russia and China. Russia, through private military companies and the Africa Corps, has provided security support. China's focus has been more on economic development and protecting economic interests.
All right. Let's take a break away from that for a second. Let's cool our jets. It's just funny how I could be doing a show, and certain times it seems like they don't want me to talk about certain things, so all of a sudden my internet starts throttling crazy. Mali was another West African empire. At one point, Mali was stronger than the Songhai Empire. To keep it 1,000 with you, at one point, if we really being honest, and here's the other thing, I've seen some people online do videos. I seen a Caucasian man do a video that said it's all lies about the what was this guy's name? I'm trying to get his name in my head. Mansa Musa. There was a content creator, social media. He was white and he did this video. And he said, yeah, this is all lies about Mansa Musa being the richest. And I was thinking, like, why would you lie about him in the history of Mansa Musa? And it is because the answer I believe is, if you educate the people, not just the black people, but definitely the black people, whether they are West African or African American, if you educate them about the true history of Africa and sub-Saharan Africa, the true history, and they wake up, that might inspire them to clean up their act and build a spirit of solidarity amongst themselves, and that would be absolutely dangerous for the oppressors on this planet. It would interrupt things. It would delay things, if not change the entire course of things. And there's only so much rewriting history that these people can do, because at some point it would make absolutely no sense. And to write that the sub-Saharan people of Africa, to change the history to say that these weren't the richest people at one point in time on the planet Earth, would be absolutely asinine, because it wouldn't make sense. The story wouldn't make sense scientifically. It wouldn't make sense logically or reasonably. You know why? Because most of the resources came from the sub-Saharan area. That's why. And they're not going to be able to dispute that the gold and salt and the ivory and the human slaves that were being sold locally to the Arabs. The Arabs would pass the desert, and then they would sell these things in the long distance. But for the most part, most people knew where their stuff was coming from. That wasn't to say, hey, they was going to move to Africa. And guess what? It wasn't that easy just to move to Africa. It wasn't even that easy to enter into Africa and just start taking control of things. Like that wasn't going to work. That desert protected Africa for a long time, I believe. Nobody wanted any problems with that desert. So the routes that you did have to enter Africa, for the most part, were covered, like they were narrow straits that were protected. a €2 million bounty on the president's head. I really hope that this president gets the resources that they need. They can get this done. And they just have to start making decisions not based on the short term, but the long term, right? If you want to do anything, stop making decisions based on the short term gratification, because it has affected so many people. The black people of America and West Africa, and probably Africa period, was predicated on decisions that these people made for short-term safety, because you're not going to be safe that long. The audacity of the French to even want to stay there. But that is the mentality of these people. As I watch how they went into Vietnam. Let's speak about Vietnam. Get out of here. Get out of here. I didn't want to go that far back. Like, you're wildin'. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Here we go. French colonial rule, 1858-1945. French seeking raw materials, markets, and a foothold in Asia. France invaded Vietnam in 1858. In 1883, French had forced the Nguyen Empire to sign a treaty making Vietnam a French protectorate. French Indochina. France divided Vietnam into three regions: Tonkin, which is the north, Annam, which is the center, and Cochin China, south. Together with Cambodia and Laos, this formed French Indochina. So this is what, most people, when we talk about the colonization by the Europeans and the white supremacists, I don't think random white people should be offended. Like, I don't think this should cause a knee-jerk reaction for you to defend anything. Like, if you start talking about black criminals, I'm not a black criminal, so why am I gonna take offense to these things? I want black criminals off the face and that's the difference. I can join you. Go ahead, talk about black criminals. I'm gonna join you and say, yeah, I want these motherfuckers off the street too. What is it to me? What is your? I want them out of here too. They're fucking shit up. However, if you can't say that, if you can't say, yeah, the white man is over there bugging because you're white, then you are part of the fucking problem. You're part of the problem. What the hell? You have to be able to accept reality. That it's just some people that look like you, have the same phenotypes as you, but they don't mean any good to this earth, this globe, the communities, nothing. So unfortunately, The white man is out here tripping all over the planet, as he been doing. Right? So Burkina Faso is nothing new. He was trying the same shit in Vietnam. America's involvement in Vietnam actually began right during the tail end of that French colonial era, long before U.S. combat troops were officially sent in. It all came down to the Cold War and massive shift in global politics. Here's how the U.S. gradually got pulled into conflict. Post-World War II, 1945, during World War II, the U.S. actually cooperated briefly with the Ho Chi Minh and his Viet Minh forces, providing them with minor support because they were fighting the Japanese occupiers. However, when the war ended in 1945, the Ho Chi Minh declared independence. The U.S. faced a geopolitical crossroads. I don't think that's a crossroad. Does anyone else think that's a fucking crossroad? Right? The Ho Chi Minh declared independence. How is that a fucking crossroads for the United States? Get your ass back to the United States and mind your business. That's not a crossroads. Oh, what do we do now? You get out of there with your life. Nah. Too sweet a deal. The dilemma. Support a nationalist movement aiming for independence or back France, a crucial European ally needed to help contain the Soviet Union in post-war Europe. The decision, fear of spreading communism, outweighed anti-colonial sentiments. The U.S. chose to back France. Yeah, that's what you chose to do. And miss me with the, oh, we can't let communism spread. Anytime someone has a low bar for morality and ethics anyway, as the United States has proven to have, if that bitch wasn't even depleted fully, you understand? Never mind low, that shit was empty. And yet they are out here spewing morality, ethics, guidelines. Oh, we can't let communism spread. We gotta back the France. We gotta back the French on this. So you're backing the colonizers. Yeah, because I'm a fucking colonizer. You know this. How many Americans died in the Vietnam War? $58,220 American military casualties associated with the Vietnam War. 47,000 were due to direct combat. 10,000 were classified as non-combat deaths. Knock it off. So that number could be higher because we know that the Americans like to fucking lie about data. It's just something they do. They can't control themselves. They're liars and apparently killers and homicidal maniacs. How many Viet 1.4 to 3.8 million Vietnamese died during the Vietnam War. All of that, and y'all didn't even win the fucking war. All of that, and Ho Chi Minh still cleared fucking independence. Dickheads. All of that, and at the end of all these people dying, Ho Chi Minh still cleared independence. In fact, so they named a city after him. Hello. The total disregard for life when it's not their own. I just want to see Barron Trump strap up with a fucking rifle and some of those bullshit bulletproof vests that they were putting on our troops where the bullets were going through. It's fucking crazy. Absolutely bananas. All right. I'm going to get into a song, and then when we come back, I'm going to end my show with, let's get back into what we discussed yesterday. Yesterday we discussed Senator Ron Johnson in a frenzy about information of turbo cancer connected to the COVID-19 vaccine. Many people yesterday, they were unaware that this, I never even heard of turbo cancer. Yes, bro. People are finding out they have cancer and then dying in 3 weeks, bro. Shit is crazy out here. You understand? But they're going to tell you not to think. Remember when they told you not to think? They said, trust the science. And I'm out here doing a little show that I got. A little show. I think they lying about my numbers. I'm looking at my numbers. I'm like, yo, you said how many people watching me right now? The analytics show you how many people is watching you right now. For the past just 7 days, it's like that number will be from 38 and higher to the 100 somewhere. Just that constantly watch my show. Because I have so much information out there. You can get lost on my channel just with the amount of information I have about random shit. There's a little something for everybody. Whether you're a religious person, a historical person, a street person, there's pretty much nothing I don't not cover on my channel. This is why it's called Society, Past, Present, and Future. So, I would like to take a little break. If you guys need to go, you go. I'm here just doing what I do. I'm not looking for numbers today. I'm going to play a song or two from my jazz album. It's called Funk and Love. I'm going to put that in the chat. This is an interlude. It's called Good Time.
As I'm loving on you. Yes, we're having better. And I'm loving on you better. And you're loving on me. Yes, we're having better. Loving on we. Loving on me. Loving on me. Loving on me. Yes, we're having better. Yeah. Time. Yes, we're having better. As I'm loving on you, and you're loving on me. Yes, we're having better. Loving on we. Loving on me. Loving on me. Loving on we. Time.
All right. Let's get into this. Senator Johnson.
Alternate media has been spreading the truth to a growing percentage of the global public. As a result, trust in these institutions is eroding. The only way to rebuild that lost trust is for the truth to be acknowledged in a process of public reckoning. The hearings I've been holding are intended to contribute to that reckoning. Today we'll hear from highly credentialed and experienced doctors and medical researchers who will discuss the plausible mechanisms of COVID mRNA injection harms. They will also describe the attacks they are experiencing on their research and reputations because they have the courage to expose the truth. I want to sincerely thank the witnesses for their courage and the time and effort they put in their testimony and advocacy. Let me just end on this note. In a couple of my public hearings, I conclude with the statement that I am truly amazed at the knowledge that mankind has accumulated over the millennia. I mean, it is amazing what we know and how rapidly we're gaining that knowledge. But in spite of that, I would argue that what we don't know vastly, and I mean vastly, exceeds what we do. And so in any kind of discussion like this, in any kind of scientific research, I think people involved need to approach these problems with that level of modesty and that kind of humility. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ranking Member Blumenthal.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. I'd like to begin my remarks by reminding everybody watching today that the National Cancer Institute has concluded, quote, there is no evidence that COVID-19 vaccines cause cancer, lead to recurrence, or lead to disease progression. That is the National Cancer Institute. Quote, there is no evidence that COVID-19 vaccines cause cancer, lead to recurrence, or lead to disease progression, end quote. I could conclude there, but I think that this hearing really merits a fuller explanation of what is at stake here, because we need more research into finding cancer cures and more research into preventing cancer in the first place. Cancer causes fear for everyone, and almost everyone, I venture to say, in fact, everyone has been touched by cancer in some way, and so that fear is pervasive. We can't allow that fear to cause unfounded attacks on the COVID vaccines or any other vaccine. These vaccines have saved millions of lives, and we should all be rooting for similar feats of science to help people who are stricken with cancer or help to prevent it.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. Let's see where you're from. Senator Blumenthal. Where is Senator Blumenthal from? Connecticut. Greenwich. Greenwich. Greenwich is filthy rich, by the way. If you don't know. Greenwich is filthy rich. What number is Greenwich when it comes to America's wealthiest cities or areas? Greenwich's exact ranking depends on whether a list evaluates the entire town or a single entity or breaks down into specific neighborhoods like Old Greenwich, as well as specific criteria used by the publication. Okay. On the most recent and prominent national rankings, Greenwich places as follows. Geo-banking rates. Moneyline. What? America's wealthiest suburbs. Greenwich ranks 27 in the nation. This study specifically evaluated high-income suburbs with at least 5,000 households, noting Greenwich average household income at $312,000 a year. Average home values climbing past 2.6. Is an income of $312K a year middle class in America? An income of $312,000 a year is not considered middle class anywhere in the United States by standard economic definition. Instead, it places a household firmly in the upper class, 5 to 10% of earners nationally. How that money feels depends heavily on geography and lifestyle. The Pew Research Center defines middle class as households earning 2/3 and double the national median income. National median income hovering around $80,000. What? Standard middle class ranking roughly 50 to, okay. National median income hovering around. Okay, so most people in America are making somewhere around 80,000. At 312, you are making nearly 4 times the national median, putting you comfortably in the upper income tier. How long has Blumenthal been a senator? "15 years. He first assumed 2011 after winning the November 2010 election to succeed." Okay. Chris Dodd. Okay, remember that. Okay. All right.
Thank you very much for asking me to give evidence on this. I'd just like to point out that I have done, as you say, I've been in cancer immunotherapy. I've been in cancer immunotherapy for over 3 decades, and I have made big advances in the treatment of cancer with immunotherapy. So this sets the scene that I became aware in early 22 of my patients who'd been stable for years.
We got Michael Wilbur in the house. Mike says that that 80,000 is a middle ground. Most Americans make less than $32,000 per year. Mike says, amazing how many politicians are very wealthy. Yeah, right? And most were not wealthy prior to becoming politicians. Yeah. That's a fact. Yeah. I just want to say, some of you guys that watch me and are part of this channel regularly know I respect science. I want you to know I respect science. I do not respect the science community, and I already told you why. So when I see politicians championing the pharmaceutical industry and the vaccination industry, as if they keep on saying these things like we need vaccination, we need these things, we need these things. What were we doing before these synthetic vaccinations is the true question. Why are you guys saying we need, right? It wasn't until the 1800s that scientific medicine even became a thing. And I already started telling you yesterday why scientific medicine. I might even go back into that today. You see? We need the history of scientific medicine. That's what we need. And the root cause of why. It was all about making doctors more money from the jump street. Well, I do the same thing, Michael. Right? My wife gets pissed. Why don't you go to the doctor? I only go to the doctor for diagnosis. When they diagnose me, I usually heal myself. Certain groups are just meant to be colonizers and people that take from other people that want to trick people. Use them. And when I see such intelligent people, there's a bunch of intelligent people that have been fooled. And they intelligently sound like idiots. I spoke to a very intelligent man. I'm talking about very intelligent. And we're going over the information that was in Robert Kennedy's book, The Real Dr. Fauci. And instead of addressing the information in it that cannot be disputed, he just said they're lying. They're lying in that book. You don't know that. He had a cognitive dissonance because now you are a dogmatic science zealot, which makes you no different from some type of religious zealot. Out here believing that he's going to do evil to people in the name of some God called Allah. And Allah is going to bless him. In same way as Yahweh would give people blessings for going in and raping and pillaging, or what? How do you say that? Some other people in another land. It's sad, man. Sad. Your God told you to do this? You sure? Yeah, he's with this. He's with the smoke. Okay. What I'm going to do is back out for religion right now because I'm sort of confused. Nah, this is a fine time to get in the water, man. It's all good. It's really not. It's really not all good.
Years, do mainly melanoma patients. They'd had several different types of immunotherapy. And in 6 weeks, I saw 6 patients relapse with melanoma. They'd been stable for 3 to 18 years. They felt well apart from the relapse. And being investigative, I asked, what was the thing that was common? And the thing that was common is they'd all received a booster vaccine from their general practitioners. Now, I know that these cancers are totally controlled by the T-cell response, so I immediately suspected the T-cell response was being perturbated by the cancer. And initial investigations showed that this was likely to be true. However, there was then a paper published by some doctors in Madrid which, and I quote, the paper is called "The Evidence of Exhausted Lymphocytes After the Third Anti-SARS-CoV-2 Vaccine Dose in Cancer Patients." I mean, this was absolutely staggering that they showed across hundreds of patients that you get this T-cell suppression. Hard on the heels of this were then numerous reports that following the booster vaccine, we were getting IgG immunoglobulin switching, so you converted the immune system from being aggressive fighting invaders to one of tolerization. So therefore, the immune system was tolerating the cancer, and this was the reason that we were starting to see it. However, it is important at this stage to say that we were getting reports after I first reported this of other cancers. And my initial observation that this was all due to T-cell suppression started to fade into the perspective that other actors were at work with the vaccine, as it were. Colorectal cancer was being reported by my patients, by my fellow surgeons, as presenting late, stage 4, not stage 1 or 2, and early, in patients in their 20s and 30s and 40s, in a way that we have not seen before.
Be careful for senators like Blumenthal. He could be on the take. And most likely he is, but I can't tell you for sure. You're going to have to use your discretion in your intuition, right? Keep it up, though. What I can tell you is, it's crazy because he's not even protecting himself. Someone in his family, by taking up for these pharmaceutical companies, somebody in his family could be affected by these turbo cancers. But he's out here spreading propaganda on behalf of the National Cancer Institute. You don't have time to wait for them to 5 years down the road to say, oh, we were wrong. Now the data is showing. And that's what they do, right? They wait. After millions have died, and it's not even an acute apology. It's usually just like some mildly symbolic recognition of, yeah, we seen that, and they're going to use their rhetoric to evade accountability for legal matters so no one is sued. But in the same aspect, they will let you know, yeah, we've acknowledged that. Yeah, we've seen that. But moving on. So I think the first thing, before we even develop a plan, is education. To get you to understand or make a decision whether you have decided this could be a contributing factor. The COVID-19 vaccination could be a contributing factor. You make the decision. I can't tell you what to do. YouTube is on my heels.
And then in my own practice, as I was looking for patients who'd had other cancers, I noticed that they too had booster vaccines, and I list them in my report. They go from everything from the common cancers, from breast, prostate, etc., and all the way through to some really unexpected ones, including glioma, and more recently, hematological malignancies.
That's wild. J19 says you had to get? You what do you mean by had to? Was this mandatory for your job or did you just decide to get 15? 15 is wild. Did you do any research, or did you take them at their word and was like, nah, they said 15. They said I need this vaccination, I'm going to get it.
Now, looking at the literature as to why this could be, and I'm involved in two big publications. One's been accepted prior to changes, and this shows that there are remarkable at least a dozen mechanisms where messenger RNA can insert into the DNA and activate oncogenes, and more importantly...
Stop right there. You see? That's why I believe in myself. Because I'm that guy. Stop right there. Stop right fucking there. Don't nobody go nowhere. You keep your silly ass right there. And let me open up a slide. Let me open up a slide. You want to learn? I got you. You can't learn this nowhere else. They're not going to teach you. I'm the only one that's going to teach you. So good luck finding another YouTuber interested in teaching you shit. Okay. Let me just find it. And I think I put it in my hip hop video. For some strange reason. I think I put it in my hip hop video. Oh, I put it in the making of a hip hop lady boy. Yeah, I put it in the making of a hip hop lady boy. Now, you're probably asking, yo, why you put it in? Like, what is that got to do with the vaccines? You're gonna find out. Something he said. What he's talking about is mimicry. All right, listen up. Hit the like button too. Molecular camouflages can fool other proteins into thinking they are something else. This deception allows them to interfere with the normal functions of the proteins they mimic, creating chaos in the cellular processes. This mimicry can be both helpful and harmful. It can help cells respond to signals properly. But it can also be exploited by viruses and certain diseases to spread and cause damage. In essence, protein mimicry is a sneaky strategy used by some proteins to pretend to be someone else or something else, just like camouflage used by animals or soldiers to blend in with their surroundings. How do you pronounce this? Angiotensin converting enzyme, ACE2. ACE2. ACE2 is a protein receptor found on the surface of certain human cells, including cells in the respiratory tract and lungs. Viruses like SARS-CoV and SARS-CoV-2 use ACE2 as their entry point into these host cells. The spike protein on the surface of these viruses bind the ACE2, initiating the process of viral entry into the host cell. Tissue distribution. ACE2 is not limited to the respiratory system. It is found in various tissues and organs throughout the body, including the heart, kidneys, and gastrointestinal tract. This has raised questions about potential extra respiratory manifestations of diseases like COVID-19. But just wait. See, this is what you have to understand, the new technology, or what the new developments, let's say that. The new developments in nanotechnology and biological research. When a virus invades the body, it needs to enter and infect our cells to replicate and spread. Some viruses have proteins on their surfaces that mimic the appearance of certain proteins. I'm going to read that again. Some viruses have proteins on their surfaces that mimic the appearance of certain proteins found on the surface of our cells. These viral proteins act like a disguise, fooling the cell into thinking the virus is harmless or even normal part of the body. Hit the like button, putos. They're not going to teach you this nowhere else. Fuck with your boy. Hijacking cellular machinery. Once the virus gains entry into the cell, it can take advantage of the mimicry to hijack the cell's machinery for its own benefit. The viral proteins may mimic important cellular proteins that are involved in cell signaling, DNA replication, or immune responses. By pretending to be the cellular proteins, the viral proteins can manipulate the cell into assisting the virus replication and survival. Huh? You understand what that doctor's talking about? I'm going to break down what that doctor's talking about, and then I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to bring him back 10 seconds so you can actually understand what he's trying to tell you. Because this thing gets deep. Our immune system is designed to recognize and eliminate foreign invaders like viruses. However, when viruses use mimicry, they can evade detection by our immune system. People, it is my intuition that is telling us that this mimicry development is affecting us. And viruses and nasty things are invading our biological system, our bodies. Through viruses that are acting as charlatans. They are charlatans, but they are acting like they are friends. And then once they get inside, they say, ha ha, I'm no friend at all. Cancer, sucker. However, when viruses use mimicry, they can evade detection by our immune system. The immune system may not recognize the disguised viral proteins as foreign, allowing the virus to continue spreading and causing damage without being effectively targeted by immune response. Now, what I want to tell you is all of these tech companies with these social media parts of their application or their company are complicit. They're complicit because when content creators like myself want to talk about stuff like this, we don't get exposed. We don't get exposure. You right? You see? I could have easily, if I wanted 100 people in here this morning, I could have got 100 people in here this morning. But I was not going to get them talking about this. You understand? I have to talk about something that would incite anxiety, rage, or fear into you so that you can contribute to the organized chaos. That would be the trade-off. Hey, Jamel, I'll give you 400 people in your chat today. And guess what? You may walk away with 50 subscribers. That makes more sense, right? Why talk about these things that's going to educate people? Because all we're going to do is throttle your viewership anyway. I know that. But you're going to let 2 or 3 through, and I'm going to educate them. Viruses can also disrupt the formal functions of cells by interfering with the signaling pathways and processes in which the mimicked proteins are involved. Jesus. So this is literally the Matrix. With agents in your body, and they're trying to shut down the pathways. Now, remember those pathways, carbon has a lot to do with those pathways where the information is going back and forth in your body. This disruption can lead to various disease symptoms and may contribute to the damage caused by infection. Oh, we're not done. Huh? I see Carrie in the building. Carrie is upset. Carrie, if you think this is something, wait till I get to the end of this slide, because it gets even more ridiculous. Summary of mimicry. Overall, the ability of viruses and certain diseases to exploit protein-protein mimicry allow them to enter the cells undetected. That is really the summary of it, right? And I just wanted us to understand that. However, we're not done. The Climate Reality Project. We recruit, train, and mobilize people of all walks of life to work for just climate solutions that speed energy transition worldwide and open the door to a better tomorrow for us. Okay, I hear you. We're not done. Investing in biotechnology. In 2010, the Gates Foundation Trust invested $23 million in Monsanto, the genetically modified seed and chemical company, though it sold its shares the next year following outcry from environmental groups. Yeah. Monsanto's DVSNF7 double-stranded RNA. So if you don't know, naturally, RNA is singly stranded. DNA is a double helix, double-stranded. Double-stranded RNA is a type of RNA molecule that consists of two complementary strands of RNA. It plays a crucial role in gene regulation. That was the word I was looking for yesterday. Gene regulation and gene interference. Remember I said an I, and I couldn't figure out where the I. It was the I was interference, right? Gene interference. So these are the words that you have to remember, because they will throw around these medical jargon terms, and many times they will use these words synonymously. So as they are playing around with the new developments, because it's not that the research of DNA research is new. It's not. I believe this goes back to maybe the late 40s or the 50s, when they started sequencing our DNA. However, it was in the 90s that they announced that they were able to edit the DNA. And the information just keep getting worse. So now, where they had what's it called? CRISPR-9. CRISPR was a tool used to cut the DNA like shears, and then you would be able to place the code, which is ACTG, wherever you want, right? And to recode the DNA in your body. Now, that's old technology. CRISPR is old technology. They don't have to edit. They found out a way that they don't have to cut the DNA and reposition it. No, they found out how to just change the letters. It's over. They found out how to just change the letters in your DNA. So we're somewhere different right now. It plays a crucial role in gene regulation and interference in various organisms, including plants and insects. When introduced into a cell, dsRNA, double-stranded RNA, can target specific genes and interfere with their expression, leading to gene silencing. When you put the technology of mimicry with what I'm telling you right now, mimicry with the ability to silence, it is a Trojan horse. With the ability to silence your genes, it is a Trojan horse. We just got to get it in you. Do you see why I talk about aliens now? Do you see? Because me and you wouldn't do this to ourselves. Who would do this to us? Who? You tell me who would do this to us. Someone that doesn't want us here. Clearly trying to kill. I mean, this is clearly you're not trying to help us. You want to act like you are in the health industry to help us, and then once we trust you, you will use these type of tools to most definitely harm us and kill us. In recent years, researchers have been exploring the use of double-stranded technology as a potential method for pest control. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you. Carrie has an appointment, so I have to go, but I'll check out your others later. Okay, by the way, once they clone that sheep. Yeah. Back in the days, I knew it was in trouble. That's exactly, Carrie. Yeah, but this was the point right here. Carrie, before you go, let me just jump to this right here. Appeal is an extra protection. This is how it's marketed anyway. Protection made by applying for another layer of what is already existing. So they want to put this stuff on your fruit, and they want you to believe that it's, hey, we're going to put this stuff in your fruit, but it's only there to just really preserve the fruit, which is not true. The process, anyway, Appeal uses this same technology, right? Of the double-stranded RNA that silences genes. When double-stranded RNA enters the cells of the target organism, it triggers a cellular response that degrades the targeted messenger RNA, preventing the production of corresponding protein. In the cases of pests, this can lead to inhibition of essential genes, impairing their survival and reproduction. That's all I want to say there, right? Now, let us go back to the video. Let us go back to the video. And I want you to listen to what the doctor's trying to say.
The cancer, and this was the reason that we were starting to see it. However, it is important at this stage to say that we were getting reports after I first reported this of other cancers. And my initial observation that this was all due to T-cell suppression started to fade into the perspective that other actors were at work with the vaccine, as it were. Colorectal cancer was being reported by my patients, by my fellow surgeons, as presenting late, stage 4, not stage 1 or 2, and early in patients in their 20s and 30s and 40s in a way that we have not seen before. And then in my own practice, as I was looking for patients who had other cancers, I noticed that they too had had booster vaccines, and I list them in my report. They go from everything from the common cancers, from breast, prostate, etc., and all the way through to some really unexpected ones, including glioma, and more recently, hematological malignancies. Now, looking at the literature as to why this could be, and I'm involved in 2 big publications. One's been accepted prior to changes, and this shows that there are remarkable at least a dozen mechanisms where messenger RNA can insert into the DNA and activate oncogenes, and more importantly, and especially the long term, they can suppress the suppressor networks.
You see? And now you understand what he's talking about. But if they don't let a content creator be a content creator, they want us all to talk stupidness. So I have to get up here and a lot of times pretend to act like I like a conversation that I don't really care for, just to get the people's attention. I'm trying to save their life. But they're so hypnotized they only hear certain words.
Which means if a cancer is starting to evolve, it would normally be maintained, controlled, and this mechanism is being prevented. And the number of people who've shown this is quite enormous. So as an oncologist, who I'm starting to see that it's not only my patients now, it's people I know really well who are going...
See, that me and him have the same story. I told you, I'm doing this story, And people was like, yo, where's the data on that? I'm like, I don't have no data. I'm talking about people that are dying in my life with turbo cancer. They're finding out they had cancer last week, 2-3 weeks ago. It's skipping all type of stages, and it's going straight to fourth stage cancer. Since when? Now, I'm not the only one that this is happening. Have a good day, Carrie. Thank you for coming through. Okay. What is that, Uncle Andy? Wisconsin? What is WI? Was that Washington or Wisconsin? Either way, we appreciate you. Thank you. Wisconsin? Okay, thank you. That's what I thought.
Going down with cancer, and they're going down more aggressively, and the treatment is not working nearly as well. And I'm used to people saying, oh, there's no evidence that cancer's increasing and that there's anything to do with the vaccine. But I can assure you from the patients that I have seen that many have seen a dozen doctors before. Not one of them has ever asked the vaccine history. So, of course, they see no evidence. And my full detailed research into the messenger RNA vaccines, and I was on the science.
My condolences to Winter. You see? These are the they don't want us to mobilize like this because we start having they would really prefer us to talk about something that's in the headlines. But if I don't slow down the conversation and say, hey, today I don't care about numbers, let's just have a conversation, I don't find out that the same thing is happening to Winter, right? Winter had a friend. She found out 6 weeks later she's dead. These are the stories that I'm starting to hear over and over and over again. Of every... Look, me and Winter may be black, but this guy is a Caucasian guy. So you tell me how the elite care more about Caucasian people if we have the same story. They don't care about me. They don't care about you. That's what we need to understand. They use us to fight against each other with that TV. You understand? With the news. Then they got the PSYOPs where they hypnotize people through their MK Ultra program to do something silly, and then they hype that up. Oh, it's a mess out here. It's a mess. So I would like to use my channel to expose the things that they are trying to do to confuse us down here and to educate. At the beginning of that show, somebody came in and they were asking rather aggressively, what you trying to enlighten people? I didn't answer them because he didn't have the attitude of a student. A student would come in and shut his mouth. If you never open your mouth, no one will ever know how foolish you are. Just shut up and listen. If you listen a little faster, I won't have to slow down when I talk. Listening will be your greatest asset.
Scientific board of a company claimed to be the messenger RNA vaccine company for 5 years and left 8 years ago. So I know a lot more than the average clinician. And myself and others feel that.
Yeah. POTUS is, he sold out. There's no getting around that. He sold out. Right? He sold out. For whatever reason. It don't matter. It don't matter. I'm pretty sure I put nothing past the Israelis, right? So the Israelis could be saying, listen, we're going to show a naked picture of your daughter, right? We're going to show a picture of you giving a BJ to Bill Clinton. If you don't do this, we're going to kill your family. I put nothing past the Israelis. They are sick individuals. So clearly Trump is not going to choose the rest of the United States. He's going to do what's best for him and his predicament, and he's decided to run this thing into the ground. But outside of Trump, let's not put everything on Trump, because he is making these decisions, but he cannot make the decision alone to sign that 2027 proposed bill to merge the Israeli military with the United States military. He cannot do that alone. That means he has to have some type of, there's other culprits at play, which are these sitting senators. We can vote them the fuck out. Yes, they can run for a lifetime. They don't have to stay there for a lifetime. So while everyone is focused on the president, what I want to suggest is that you start to look at your senators and you start to look at your congressmen and you put the fire underneath their ass. Listen, Jack, you good for nothing piece of shit. We sent you there not to be having dual loyalty with a whole nother damn suicidal country. Because then at the end of the day, these are your kids, these are your grandnephews and nephews and nieces that are entering the military. And all I'm saying is, yeah, we need soldiers to fight, but I'm not going to risk it all on some jackass mission if I don't have to put you in jeopardy. It's just that part right there. That's what it comes down to. We all, well, not we didn't all enlist in the military, but you do your time, whatever you signed up for, knowing there could be risk, but you never figure that the people are going to get happy-go-lucky with the risk. Right? You signed up. You know, there's a chance I could go to war, or there's a chance I could get a cozy ass situation for the next 2 to 4 years. Let's see how this goes while traveling the world, and I get to save up some money. So if we was really at risk, you don't even, it's all right, let's go handle business. We at risk. When you're not at risk, and the people you fighting for are not at risk, but they are actually the instigators and then the antagonizers, and you don't agree, right? With these vile human beings. These vile, and I shouldn't say human beings, because I don't know if they're human beings. I don't know if they're Homo sapiens anyway. But these vile individuals that love to tell a story from the middle, right? Remember October 7th. No, you remember October 7th because you caused it. You the one that caused your own hospital to get blown up by your actions. For every action, there's a reaction. So don't tell me about Hamas and Hezbollah. Tell me about what you did. Tell me about what the United States did to fund these same groups. Tell me about that. Don't just be telling me the middle of the story and what they did after you gave them power. Jackass shit. This is jackass shit. Yes, co-conspirators. It's disgusting. And now, what hurts the most is that we, America, right? Most of us are left in a state of... See, the reason they think they can pull stuff like this is because they have these parallel psyops going on. Domestic and foreign. So they have teams for the domestic, teams for the foreign. Right? Most of these are ran through think tanks like the Rand Corporation. As far as domestic psyops, the main goal, it appears to be, is to keep the people divided. So if you are a white farmer in Wisconsin, you are never supposed to relate to the black guy in the projects in New York. Never. Always keep them separated through propaganda. Let me show you something. Are you familiar with NSC 10-2?
Yes, I am. NSC 10 halves was a critical, top-secret U.S. National Security Council directive issued on June 18, 1948, during the early Cold War. This directive is historically significant because it formally authorized the United States government to conduct peacetime covert operations overseas for the first time. Key aspects of NSC 10 halves. Definition of covert operations. NSC 10 halves established the definition for covert operations as activities so planned and executed that any U.S. government responsibility for them is not evident to unauthorized persons, and that if uncovered, the U.S. government can plausibly disclaim any responsibility for them. Creation of the OPC. It superseded earlier directives, like NSC 4A, and directed the creation of a semi-autonomous Office of Special Projects within the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, which quickly became known as the Office of Policy Coordination, OPC. Mandate. The OPC was tasked with planning and conducting covert operations designed to counter the vicious covert activities of the USSR and communist groups, thereby supplementing overt U.S. foreign policy. In essence, NSC 10 halves marked the formal establishment of the infrastructure for large-scale, deniable covert action programs that characterized much of the CIA's activity throughout the Cold War.
Are you familiar with NSC 10-5?
No, I am not familiar with NSC 10-5.
It's okay. Let me ask you this last question before I leave. Does the national security does the NSC allow for America to legally use propaganda?
The authority for the U.S. government to use propaganda and the legal framework surrounding it is complex and has a significant.
Please answer yes or no. Does the National Security Council allow the United States to legally use propaganda? It doesn't want to answer because the answer is yes. Hold on, I'm going to make it answer. It doesn't want to answer. Does the National Security Council allow the United States to legally use propaganda? Yes or no?
Whether the National Security Council,
Stop.
NSC,
Yes or no?
whether the National Security
Yes.
Council.
Stop. I'm not interested in your rhetoric. Do you understand? I'm not interested in your rhetoric. I just want to know, does the National Security Council, whether it is 10- or 10/2 or 10-5, does it allow the United States to use propaganda? Yes or no?
No, the National Security Council does not provide direct legal authorization for propaganda. The legality is defined by other laws, like the Smith-Mundt Act.
You're telling me, you sure you want to stick with that answer? That the United States is not allowed to use propaganda? You sure you want to stick with that answer? It doesn't take that long. You're off the job now. Now we go. Hold on. I love it. If you like it, Gemini, I love it. You understand? But before we go there, let's just go NSC 10.2. If they like it, I love it. Let's see first if we can find it in the approved 1948. This is a summary right here, but it may not give us what we want, so we can go into a more detailed version. We have a executive oversight of the United States covert operations. No. Foreign relations. No. Directive on covert operations. Maybe. Let's just open that tab right there. PDF NSC 10-2. Definitely. Let's open up that one. Download free. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to give it to me without making me sign up for it. Hold on. They may make me sign up for it. And it's crazy because, you know, they put these tools out there like Gemini, ChatGPT, Grok. However, many of them will lie to you because they're trained to lie to you. They're trained to lie to you. I'm looking for 10-5. Sorry. NSC. Alright, let me see if I... Good times NSC. See if I can get this one. Scope of operations. This is a 3-page joint right here. This might be one. Give me a second. Is this 10.5? Let's just go over this one together. 10.4. Was it 10.4? Let's look up 10.4 too. What's 10.4? And then see 10.4 as well. It's widely known as CB radio 10 code, meaning 10. No. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for that. Memorandum for the Director of Central Intelligence. At its fourth meeting, National Security Council amended and approved the draft directive to the Director of Security Central Intelligence contained. This directive, as approved by the National Security Council, is transmitted. Okay. Historical document. The National Security Council taken organizance of the vicious psychological efforts of the USR satellite. I think it's this document right here, actually. Can't find that word. One of the documents is the word is in there explicitly, but I forgot which one it is. Whether it's 2, 5, or 4A. But for this one right here, you guys definitely want to read. The attachment B NSC 4-A is a great one to read. The similarity of operational methods involved in covert psychological and intelligence activities and the need to ensure their secrecy and obviate costly duplication renders the Central Intelligence Agency the logical agency to conduct such operations. Hence, under authority of Section 102(d)(5) of the National Security Act of 1947, the National Security Council directs the Director of Central Intelligence to initiate and conduct within the limit of available funds covert psychological operations designed to counteract Soviet and Soviet-inspired activities which constitute a threat to the world. Peace and security are designed to discredit and defeat the United States and its endeavors to promote the world to security. So what I just read was the rationalization of using psychological effects, even if you use it domestically, so that they, at the time of this, the Cold War was regarding the Soviet Union. However, this strategy is still in play, right? So they will use psychological, whether we want to say propaganda, but the wording is in. I'm not going to hold up the show, but I'm definitely going to find it before the next show. Is in one of the documents. However, these documents came out. They didn't all come out at once, right? And this was also a strategy, because when people went to go look up the history of these documents, they were all over the place. They called them memorandums, right? And then the hope was to throw people off. But I have spent quite some time looking through these documents and trying to translate the meanings of these legally cryptid written directives. The director of the Central Intelligence is charged with ensuring that such psychological operations are consistent with U.S. foreign policy and covert foreign information activities, and that appropriate agencies of the U.S. government, both at home and abroad, including diplomatic and military representatives in cache area, I don't know what that means, are kept informed of such operations which will directly affect them. Nothing contained herein shall be construed to require the Central Intelligence Agency to disclose operational details concerning its secret techniques, sources, or contracts. So they can do this and they don't ever have to tell anyone what's going on. A report to the National Security Council, the Executive Secretary on Office of Special Projects, 1948, top secret. At its 13th meeting, the National Security Council approved the directive in NSC 10-1, subject to deletion of paragraph 3D and amendments to paragraph 3A, E, and 4. The revised directive, as approved, is circulated herewith to the Council for information and to the Director of Central Intelligence for the appropriate action. Okay. Special security precautions are being taken in the handling of this report for the reason it's suggested. Okay, I got that. Okay, here we back at Office of Special Projects. The National Security Council, taking cognizance of the vicious covert activities of the USR, its satellite countries, and communist groups to discredit and defeat the aims and activities of the United States and other Western powers, has determined that, in the interests of world peace and U.S. national security, the overt foreign activities of the U.S. government must be supplemented by covert operations. Covert means generally hidden, secret, or not openly acknowledged, okay? So, they're letting you know because they feel that another country are doing things that are not in our best interests. So, in the interest of peace, of world peace and the U.S. national security, the overt foreign activities of the U.S. government must be supplemented by secret, hidden operations. The Central Intelligence Agency is charged by the National Security Council with conducting espionage, commonly known as spying, is the clandestine or secretive collection of confidential, classified or proprietary information. Governments and organizations use it to gain strategic, military, and economic advantages. Espionage and counter-espionage operations abroad. It therefore seems desirable for operational reasons not to create a new agency for covert operations, but in time of peace to place the responsibility for them within the structure of the Central Intelligence Agency and correlate them with espionage and counter-espionage operations under the overall control of the Director of Central Intelligence. Therefore, under the authority of Section 102D5 of the National Security Act of 1947, the National Security Council hereby directs that, in time of peace, a new Office of Special Projects shall be created within the Central Intelligence Agency to plan and conduct covert operations, secret operations, and in coordination with Joint Chiefs of Staff to plan and prepare for the conduct of such operations in wartime. So this can happen in peace times and war times, ladies and gentlemen. A highly qualified person nominated by the Secretary of State, acceptable for the Director of Central Intelligence, and approved by the National Security Council shall be appointed as the Chief of Office of Special Subjects. The Chief of Office of Special Projects shall report directly to the Director of Central Intelligence for the purposes of security and flexibility of the operations and the maximum. So what they tried to do and what they did was compartmentalize many aspects of the functionality of the CIA as best as possible, so that it was like a balancing act. This was done for many different reasons. Not too much power can get consumed by whoever is put in charge of a project. The Director of Central Intelligence shall be responsible for ensuring through designated representatives of the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Defense that covert hidden operations are planned and conducted in a manner consistent with the U.S. foreign and military policies and with overt activities. Overt is an adjective describing something that is open. That hidden operations are planned and conducted in a manner consistent with U.S. foreign and military policies with open activities, and disagreements arising between the Director of the Central Intelligence and the representative of the Secretary of State or the Secretary of Defense over such plans. The matter shall be referred to the National Security Council for decision, ensuring that plans for wartime hidden operations are also drawn up with the assistance of a representative of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, are accepted by the letter of being consistent with and complementary to approved plans for wartime, informing through appropriate channels agencies of the U.S. government both at the time and abroad, including diplomatic and military representatives in each area. Okay. Hidden operations pertaining to economic warfare will be conducted by the Office of Special Projects under the guidance of the departments and agencies responsible for planning the economic warfare. The supplemental funds for the conduct of the proposed operations for fiscal year 1949 shall be immediately requested. Therefore, operational funds for these purposes shall be included in normal Central Intelligence Agency. In time of war, or when the President directs, all plans for hidden operations shall be coordinated with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. In active theaters of war, where American forces are engaged, hidden operations will be conducted under the direct command of the American Theater Command and orders therefore. What is this? What is the American Theater Commander? What the fuck is this? In the U.S. military, American Theater Commander refers to 4-star general and or admiral responsible for combatant command. These commanders oversee all military operations, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines within specific global region. Yeah. Yep. The word theater is used in military context to describe specific geographical area where a world war takes place. It comes from ancient Greek word theatron, which means place for viewing. over centuries. Oh, okay. Will be transmitted. As used in this directive, covert secret operations are understood to be all activities except as noted herein, which are conducted or sponsored by this government against hostile foreign states or groups or in support of friendly foreign states or groups, but which are so planned and executed that any U.S. government responsible for them is not evident to unauthorized persons, and that if uncovered, the U.S. can plausibly disclaim any responsibility for them. Specifically, such operations shall include any covert activities related to propaganda. There goes the fucking word right there. Y'all knew I was gonna find it, right? You knew I wasn't about to go out like that. You bugging? Fuck AI. You knew I was going to find it, right? I do too much, dedicate too many hours of studying. You know why I talk with like a hesitation? Because I have like fucking 3 conversations going on in my head at one time. It's like a midget running around in my brain trying to go get the information that I learned 10 years ago. Like, yo, what's that word I'm looking for? I don't know. I'm trying to find it, sir. Hurry up. I got a live going on. I'm live in front of people right now. I'm pausing. I'm on that for you, sir. Now, let's go over this one again. As used in this directive, hidden operations are understood to be all activities which are conducted or sponsored by this government against hostile foreign states or groups or in support of friendly foreign states or groups, but which are so planned and executed that any U.S. government responsibility for them is not evident to unauthorized persons. Unauthorized persons could be the fucking president. Do you know that? Unauthorized persons could be the goddamn vice president. Unauthorized persons could be senators. It could be congressmen. It's definitely you. You're unauthorized. I can tell you that. But here's the funny, which is not funny. I'm saying it's funny, and I gotta go because my wife is reminding me I gotta go to a doctor's appointment. Yes, for eyes only clearance. Here we go. But don't think that I didn't hear, it didn't connect what I just read. I heard it. I just kept on reading. But let me go over it again. So planned and executed that any U.S. government responsibility for them is not evident to unauthorized persons, and that if uncovered, the U.S. government can plausibly disclaim any responsibility for them. They've been lying to us, and they had the legal right to lie to us, not the moral right to lie to us, not the ethical right to lie to us. They had the legal right to lie to us. This is what I'm telling you today. So, of course, because they are in charge of the FCC, and they really are in charge of all these other these softwares. They have an agreement, rather. Certain things could go down. Certain information could be put out. I ask AI a question, it fucking stalls like it's out of gas. Then it comes back and tells me fucking lies to my face. I ask it, you sure you want to piss me off? Because I'm really not the guy to piss off intellectually. I'm not. This is what you want to do? You want to go toe to toe with me, AI? AI says yes. Alright. Now if he dies, he dies. Now I'm a Rocky for you, you jackass. Why you do that? Now I'm a Rocky for you. Specifically, such operations shall include any covert, hidden activities related to propaganda, economic warfare, preventive direct action, including sabotage, anti-sabotage, demolition, and evacuation measures, subversion against hostile states, including assistance to underground resistance movements, guerrillas and refugee liberations groups, and support of indigenous anti-communist elements in threatened countries of the free world. Such operations shall not include armed conflict by recognized military forces, espionage, counter-espionage, and cover and deception for military operations. I have to go, but don't think like I would come back, so that, because one thing I got to do before I go is I want to see which one was written first. By the list of NCSC 4, NCS 10, 2, and NCS, or SC, I keep on saying CS, SC 10, 5, which one was written first? Based on the historical records, here is the chronological order of these nationals. So 4 was written first, all right? So I read you the first one. However, my point in asking that question is because these were updated, right? And I don't have the time right now because I got to go to the doctor. Otherwise, I would definitely continue. But basically, these were amended to 4 and to. And I want to explain this where I'm not telling you something wrong. So basically, for the sake of national security, if they had to use these same tactics on everyone, including domestically, they are legally allowed to do that. Okay? So, I would not sit up here and tell you that they're legally allowed to commit propaganda if I had not read it already. But when I say it's legal, it is in the terms of national security. They are allowed to say this to you. They're allowed to give you disinformation like they tried to do just now when I looked this up. You can't give me disinformation because I'm someone who really likes to look at the paperwork anyway. I don't really want to use you anyway, AI. I just use you sometimes, but as a like someone who's following me around a library. I don't look to you to learn a motherfucking thing like that, because I don't really trust you, because I know you're gonna lie to me. But when I catch it lying, it's just so crazy. Anyway, I gotta go. Yeah, thanks, Uncle Andy. Yeah. When I get back though, I'm gonna be chest deep in this right here when I get back. All right, I gotta go to the doctor, but I am gonna play a song off my album before I go. Let's see. Let's see. What can I play? You know what? I started working on a reggae song. This is it, but hold on. I want the whole song. I think I called it Blue something. Blue Lagoon. That's what I called it. I don't think I put words to it. I'm going to put words to it today. Come on. I'm going to put words to this today.
The secret to this thing, why they jealous what they see. You make me feel love. You make me feel love. The secret to this thing, why they jealous what they see. You make me feel love. You make me feel love.
I wrote this song in my sleep. The words came to me in my sleep. Everything came to me in the sleep. The rhythm, everything. And then I just woke up and it was like 4 a.m. and I just came in here and just put it down just so I wouldn't lose the reference, right? And then I woke up and was like, yeah, that's crazy.
The secret to this thing, why they jealous what they see. You make me feel loved. You make me feel loved. The secret to this thing, why they jealous what they see. You make me feel